All right, we're here with Coach Figueroa from Flanagan. Coach, welcome in.
Thank you, Anthony, for having me.
So you've had some years now since we last spoke. When you first took over the program, we did one of these Sunday morning chats, and a lot's changed even in those years since you started. So talk a little bit about specifically to start your coaching style. Has there been anything since you took over that has kind of changed as far as your style of coaching?
No, not really. I think that, being with the program since '05 and, just moving right along through it, it was a smooth transition. Coach Evans and myself are similar in coaching styles. We're hard nosed. We want to win. We prepare and in terms of fundamentals and so on and so forth, and we're heavy on that, and that's the same as our teams went on and have we played since I've taken over. It's been the same thing. The level of talent has has decreased a little bit in years past, but we still work hard, and we'll try to do the best we can with what we got.
So part of the reason the talent, has decreased, everybody's talking these days about player movement being the biggest change over the past decade. How hard is it as a coach to preach about loyalty? It used to be a talking point of most coaches, the loyalty to your school, the loyalty to play for your school, to play for your friends, and you're basically your school family. How hard is that now that that's kind of been taken away from you, and how do you navigate that?
Well, that's extremely hard to take, to navigate. Because parents are going to do what they want to do with their kids. They're unhappy, they're disgruntled, they'll move on. And then all the other schools that have opened around the area, it's so hard to compete against so many new schools and all kinds of charter programs and here and there, that the players are constantly moving on. I mean, it's hard to develop loyalty with kids like that. We've been fortunate enough that this year we didn't lose anybody. As a matter of fact, we gained a couple kids that weren't happy where they were at, but they both belong to our school anyway. They should have been at our school since ninth graders, and they weren't, because they went somewhere else thinking that it was better, on that side, that the school and whatever the demographics, I don't know. Anyway, it turns out that they came back to us, which we're happy they're back. But yeah, it's extremely difficult with with the schools and and just the idea of these kids wanting to play every single day. And when they come in as freshmen or sophomore, they think that they should be starting on varsity, and sometimes that's not the case.
So I've been doing these interviews for a couple weeks, and I just talked to Coach Burnside from South Dade, another guy that's been around for years, like you have. We rolled through some things that we thought were pretty simple things for the state or the counties individually, the BCAA or the GMAC down in Miami. I mean, do you think that there's things that can be done? He particularly didn't like seniors being able to move, after, maybe something being put in place to stop that, or maybe something along what the NCAA is doing, which is, making kids sit out a year or half a year or whatever, just something to deter the movement that's going on right now. I mean, do you have any ideas on that?
Yeah, I think I mean, he's spot on with the having to sit out a year. If you transfer for whatever reasons, you should be able to or at least sit out a number of games. Not maybe the whole year, but maybe sit out half a year, 15 games or something, to kind of deter the idea. Hey, you know what? I need my kid to play these 15 games because he might be getting recruited. Well, whatever the case may be, how parents are always thinking about that. But that would be a great idea. I've always thought that maybe a 10, 15 game suspension for transferring there, and then seniors shouldn't be allowed to transfer. There's no reason why seniors should transfer. If you're there 3 years and you're coming into your fourth or senior year, why would you want to transfer them? Because you think your team's not going to be any good, or because you don't think you're going to make it anywhere? No, I think that's bad on the parents to allow that to happen.
How do you balance, because you're one of the coaches that runs a travel organization in the off season, so and you're a high school head coach. So talk about how hard that balance is to balance the travel, program with the high school program and the differences between the two, especially since the two kind of tend to be at odds.
Yeah, well, our travel program is really more like a developmental league that eighth graders come into our that are coming into our school. So we kind of try to develop those kids over the summer. Now, in terms of travel and going to different places, I haven't been doing that for a while in terms of with the Mudcats. Now, the South Florida Scorpions, I do help out with them, and they do a bunch of traveling. And I try to get my players, the guys that are coming back on varsity, to play on those teams if they can. And just to get, so I can be the coach, instead of someone else coaching them and maybe doing something that we're not used to doing.
You're my sticker guy.
Okay.
Go on mute.
Yeah, that's my
Do you find that so a lot of the travel programs, I'm getting approached all the time, and people are saying, hey, why don't you start an HSBN travel program? We can do this and this and this. And every time, everybody kind of has the same idea. We're going to practice with these guys. We're going to give them reps. That's what's not happening at travel ball. That's what's not happening. And I hear it over and over and over again. Do you think there's much difference in all these travel programs, or do you see them all being pretty much similar, with just different coaches at the top of them?
Yeah, there's some difference, because some teams, a lot of the better travel teams, they don't really practice. They just show up to tournaments, and that's how they do it. Like our developmental league's about practicing. We go 4 times a week. So we go 2 times playing, 2 days a week playing, and the other 2 days practicing. But yeah, a lot of the teams, all they do is show up and play, and well, meet me in Fort Myers, meet me in Jupiter or Georgia, wherever it is, and you guys are, you're on your own, just show up, and that's what they do. And then they get their private instructions, with their private coaches, their private pitching coaches, and they get ready that way. Which it's that's why high school baseball, in my opinion, is a lot better than travel baseball, because of the fact that you got this kind of unity, that you're there 9 months out of the year, pretty much, sometimes a year round, in some cases, and you develop that kind of rapport and that kind of practice and stuff, and then that's how you that's how you inflict your culture, or whatever it is that you that your school's about, or what your program's all about.
So switching it up a little bit, is there a coach that you go up against that you love battling with year after year, that you just know going into that game it's going to be a chess match, and that you got your hands full?
Well, for the past few years, has been Fitzgerald over at Douglas. He's had teams to compete at the minor league level. Are you kidding me? And it's a chess match with him. But even though he's rolled out some really, really good teams in the past few years. I remember the last time we beat them was on 19. We beat them in the regional semifinals, and that's the last time we got them. And look, it's years later, we haven't even touched them, and he's been really good since. But Jamuli's a good coach. He's a guy that he's good to coach against. There's a lot of good team, a lot of good guys out there. That Noel Garcia is a really good coach. Howard over at West Broward. Those guys, they come out, and you got to battle to win. It's not going to be an easy day.
What do you think about the parity this year in high school baseball in Broward County? Because actually Broward, Miami, Palm Beach, it's all about the same. That you got 2 or 3 schools that are out in front of everybody, and it seems like everybody's in that next level. There's not a lot of difference from day to day between all you guys, and you're all just knocking each other off, all at about 500 records. So what do you think about that parity right now in the game?
Well, that's where the good programs are getting the good kids, And those guys, that's why those kids transfer to programs like that if they do, because of the fact that they know they're going to be in contention. You know, they know they're going to have a shot to win a state championship, and then you know, that's what kids want to do. I mean, there's a lot of parity from the top guys down. I mean, not from the top guy, from second place down, because everybody else is pretty much the same. I mean, anybody could win any given night. I mean, it's not on paper that the games are played. That's why they have to be played, and anybody can upset anyone. You know, we're hoping to hit our stride here soon, but I'm telling you, that's what we preach to our kids every single day, that, you know, it's going to be your turn sooner or later, so you better be ready for it.
Sure. So if you had a summer off, you have no responsibilities, no kids, you don't have to worry about baseball, nothing, where you could go anywhere for a whole month, where are you going and why?
Yeah, gee whippers. Well, I like to visit Greece. Okay, Santorini Island. I like to visit Italy, which I'm probably doing this summer. But for a whole month, that's a good trip. I mean, the Italy would be a nice trip for a month. You know, Spain, you know, because I got my ancestors are from Spain, from the Canary Islands, so I'd love to go there as well. I've never visited.
Give me the last time that the game brought you to tears.
You know, this is a good question because, you know, I've never cried in a baseball game. I've cried only when our senior night. That's the only time that it's brought me to tears, because, you know, our players write their own bio, and you know how they're thanking their parents and their you know, their coaches and everybody, and their brothers and sisters, uncles, grandparents, whatever. And that's the time that they always get me with that one. You know, I never cried in a game, you know, because games are meant to win. You know, you win and lose those. I don't cry about winning or losing those. You know, I'm happy when we win. I'm sad when we lose, but I don't cry. But that damn, you know, senior night always gets me, man.
If you had to choose had chosen a different career path back when you were younger, what would it have been?
I probably would have been a firefighter, because I had a chance to do that and I decided not to.
And what about now? Now that you've seen kind of how the world's changed, or where everything is, what would your career choice be now if you had to do it again?
Well, I enjoy coaching, so I don't regret it for a bit, you know, because that's the reason why I never got into administration or anything like that, because I wanted to coach. So I'm right where I want to be. I got about 5 years left.
All right. Is there a moment you remember on a baseball field where you just completely lost your cool, where something happened and you just there's a moment that sticks out that you just said, man, I just couldn't control my emotions in that particular situation?
That's a tough one. I don't recall losing my cool like that. You know, I've been upset, but I've never lost my cool to the point where I've been kicked out. I've only been kicked out of one game in my high school season. That was back in 1994, 95, maybe. I'm not even sure. And it wasn't even, you know, something that I should have been kicked out for, but whatever. No, I can't answer that question because I don't really have an answer for it. I've never lost my cool like that. I like to say, where was it where I lost? No, I don't recall. No, I'm old, man.
Speaking of getting thrown out, because Coach Burnside had an interesting answer to this question too, but how much of it, you know, as I watch games, you know, in all different places with all different umpires, I see how much of you not getting kicked out is because you just know when to stop. You know, when an umpire, for a young coach, you know, the umpire usually gives you one shot, and it's that extra word that comes out, which punches you out. I mean, is that something you learned early, or, I mean, is that just the difference in you staying in a game?
Yeah, I think that is. I think you're right about that. I think, you know, you got to know when to stop. You got to know when to, you know, just pull back a little bit. Oh, I got that question now. I remember up that year in 2019 where we were playing Palm Beach Central, and there's a play at first, and the first baseman swipes the tag. They call him out, but the guy dropped the ball. He picks it up and he throws it around. The umpire just called him out, turned around. So I run out there and I say, "Hey, did you see him drop the ball?" And he said, "No, I didn't see it." And I said, "Well, could I ask the home plate umpire? He might have seen it." And so when I'm walking there, when I'm maybe about 5-6 feet from him, he looks at me and he goes, "Coach, whatever he called, that's the call."
Wow.
I go, "How do you know what I was gonna ask?"
Right.
I kind of lost it there, but I was furious, but I didn't get kicked out.
Well, you're dealing with human emotion. I mean, even with these umpires, they're supposed to be robots, but when coaches go at them, there's certainly an ego involved in it, and it's natural. A lot of umps are good at taking the ego out of it, just like a coach would be. But the natural reaction obviously gets them sometimes.
Yeah. Well, going back to your question, I think just being able to know, hey, I'm past my limit here. Let's stop and whatever, and let's, I want to, support my players and back them up, but I want to stay in the game, because if I'm out, then I can't help them.
So we're going to lighten things up a little bit. I'm going to give you some questions. You just give me your answers to what I throw at you.
Okay.
All right. The first one is the beach or the mountains?
I'll take the beach. Yeah, I like the ocean.
Favorite type of cuisine?
Steak. Steak and lobster, surf and turf.
A roller coaster or a leisurely stroll down a lazy river?
Stroll down the lazy river. Those roller coasters get me all the time right now. I can't do it. I'm too old for that.
Scarface or The Godfather?
Ooh, it's a good one. I like Godfather.
Adam Sandler or Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell. I think he's funny.
Favorite thing to do that doesn't involve baseball?
Fishing, gardening, hunting.
So this last one, I've been asking all the coaches, and the answers always vary based on age or experience in the game. But if you can win a state title this year, and it would immediately be the end of your coaching career, or you get no state title this year and you can coach for 5 to 10 more years, which one are you taking?
I like to coach 5 or 10 more years. Actually, 5, not 10. 10's stretching it. 5 years would be good. I love to win a state championship. I've been to 4 of them, 5 actually, won 3. I would rather coach 5 years.
All right, Coach. Well, it's always great talking to you. You've been a great supporter of HSBN through the years, and let's hope your team gets hot here over the next couple of weeks.
I'm sure hoping to. All right, man. Take
Good
care.
talking to you.
Bye-bye.